I'm
Oh, we're
Alex.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, my sister wait.
You're good. Okay, Brittany, go.
I'm Brittany. Sorry I'm late.
Is it my turn? Jennifer?
Shaylee.
And I'm Renee. Awesome.
Hello.
Okay, so group, let's get started. The first question is, what threats to children and families did Elder Holland mention? We'll just do the first part of this question
I can't access
first.
my computer, so...
Okay, do you remember what you thought about, or can you remember what Elder Holland mentioned about children and families?
No clue. It was all written in notes online.
Hold on. Let's see.
And I would like to quote this on YouTube. The only reason I can't access my notes is because Google Hangout showed up on my phone instead of on my laptop. So, if you can use Adobe Connect in the future, Sister Meeker, that'd be great.
I know, it is a lot better to Connect.
I'm trying to think of where he talked about. Oh, okay, so just to kind of get the conversation started, I'm going to quote a quote that he said, and it's from Quentin L. Cook's talk. And it says, in addition to protecting our own families, we should be a source of light in protecting our communities. The Savior said, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. In our increasingly unrighteous world, it is essential that values based on religious belief be evident in public square. Religious faith is a store of light, knowledge, and wisdom, and benefits society in a dramatic way. So I think threats is just like the family is definitely.
Renee?
What's up?
Speak a little slower.
Okay.
Because you're kind of going in and out.
Okay. Sorry, I tend to speak fast in the first place.
No, it's just the internet connection. You're okay.
Okay. So I think one thing is that it just talks about like how the world is just becoming progressively more wicked and telling you that you shouldn't have an opinion, basically, or else you would be considered judgmental, and that's not acceptable in today's society.
Yeah, he talked a lot about judgment and how we tend to be scared to judge, but there is righteous judgment. So, yeah.
Okay. And is there anything else? Oh, there was something else. Just he talked about checking your religion at the door. Does anybody want to say anything about that?
I don't, well, I'm confused. Like, I was still on the first question because I don't feel like we really answered it. But I had a thought about Babylon and how he talked about how in previous generations or whatever that Abraham had to flee Babylon and Lehi and the family had to flee and the Puritans fled England, and we are no longer fleeing. The church will never have to flee ever again. And it kind of reminds me of how Zion is wherever we are. The call to gather in Utah is over. We're supposed to stay where we are, live in the world, but not of the world. Is that...
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really hard concept to grasp because as members of the church, we are not really great at trying to differentiate those two. I think it's just a really
the world
hard thing
and not
to
of
do
the world
in general.
Yeah.
Huh?
to live in the world but not of the world. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's this balance that we will every day have to figure out.
Yeah. And going back to the check your religion at the door, I think there's a lot of young people that can be influenced by that, especially where it's not necessarily the cool thing to do to stand up for what you believe and to state what you believe in a public setting. It's very much, that's your belief, you keep that to yourself, don't share it with anyone, and don't expect anybody else to follow that kind of thing, and it just kind of downplays the importance of religion, I guess, in society.
Growing up for me, I grew up in Southern California, and I think there's a few of us in here that are from grown up being the minority. But I don't know if this counts as checking your religion at the door, but I just assumed that I was the only one with standards and morals, so I didn't really have expectations for my peers around me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a teenager and young and I didn't know any better, but I just figured that they didn't know any better and that I not to judge them. But I wish that there's a lot of things that we believe in that are morals that society in general should have. And I wish I would have stuck up for those a little bit better. I think it was hard for me to figure out how to be a righteous judge. That makes sense. Or I don't know. To defend my belief.
Sorry. What part of Southern California are you from?
Temecula.
Okay, cool. My cousin's. I'm from Glendale. I live like 5 minutes from Hollywood, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where you're at.
It's always been hard because people really do they really watch you and they expect a lot,
Yeah.
So.
There's
And then
a
if
lot
you say
of ways
anything,
I like it.
there's a lot of what? Sorry.
There's a lot of aspects of being a minority that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
I like feeling, I don't know. There were some times though where, unique a little bit. There were times where she's LDS, so she can't say a swear word. And I'd be like, really? I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, but yeah.
And if you do cuss, then they're like.
What?
Like, oh, you're such. And if you do cuss, they're like, you're such a hypocrite. Because I have a cussing problem sometimes, and I have to watch it. I think about it, like, oh my gosh, So it's hard when you stand up for your beliefs, but then you're being hypocritical to what you believe in, and then people really watch you. And
yeah.
I don't know.
I think growing up in general is just hard. Growing up in Utah, where everyone is LDS, kind of. Well, for me, growing up, I knew, my friends I went to church with, we were, a support group, and I think in Utah it's a little harder because you're wondering, well, what kind of Mormon are you, or this or that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the threat to the children, the family, is living in this world where there's so much gray, and it's really hard to figure out what you believe in and gain your own testimony, for one, and to figure out how to stand up for it. That would be hard.
Yeah. That kind of leads into the second question about standing up for what you believe in. It says, how does Elder Holland's description of Babylon and Israel coincide with defending the doctrine of the family in these latter days?
I have a quote that I really liked. Talked about how it said, taking a moral stand according to what God has declared and the laws He has given, but doing it compassionately and with understanding and great charity. And I just like how he makes it clear at the end that there needs to be compassion within it. It can't just be don't just feel like you have to be this brave person that says what's on your mind, instead of being charitable while doing it and compassionate.
Yeah. It doesn't do any good to just point fingers and tell people they're in the wrong.
Exactly.
All right. Does anybody else want to comment on that question?
I think it's
Let's move
just
on.
there's a lot. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's a lot of. I was talking to a tutor that teaches my drugs and society class here on campus, and I was telling her that it's just really hard because I feel like members of the church don't really take it seriously when we're talking about like how there aren't just, families like us. There are also like blended families, and there are also like homosexual families, as much as we don't want to talk about that. And like it's out there, like it happens. And I think like instead of praising the sin, we have to understand the person. And I think the church does a really good job of that, but as a people, as a culture of the church, we don't do such a great job of that. And I think I grew up a little bit differently probably than most of you, and I joined a church when I was 18, and I had a lot of pressure. Most of my friends stopped speaking to me when I joined the church, and because of that, I was kind of like an outcast for my junior year, and by my senior year, I was fine, but I definitely saw how people treated me differently, like what Jennifer was saying. And I think as women bringing our children up, we need to do a good job of trying all we can do to prevent that from happening. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying like, oh, we should all flock Utah or to Rexburg. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying like providing, a positive environment for our children to grow up in. My mom is not a member of the church, and she lives in Ohio. And we're actually planning on moving back there in December. And she has a neighbor who is LDS, and she will not allow her boys to ride the school bus. And it's less than a mile down the street. She won't even let her kids ride like bikes or walk to school. And it's because she's so scared that something's going to happen to them. And she won't let them go and play with non-LDS kids, even if it's not on, like, I understand, like, not allowing them to play on a Sunday. Like, I get that. But, like, not at all? Are you kidding me? Like, really? And, so unless they're LDS, she doesn't allow them to play with them. And I think doing crap like that makes it so people treat us differently. And that's just my opinion. Maybe that's not right, but sometimes I feel like a lot of LDS families set themselves up for failure and set themselves up to allow their kids to be treated differently than they should. Yes, we don't drink, and yes, we don't do drugs, and no, we don't believe in polygamy, and but I don't think that we necessarily like have to not live in the world. I think, there are certain good things in this world, but
We need to focus on finding the good.
yeah, and
My mom was like that. I was not allowed to have friends that were not LDS, or it was until like 5th grade. My best friend, she lived up the street from me. She was at LDS. My mom would let me go over to her house, and I kept like asking why when she told me that she's not LDS, and that was like heartbreaking for me, and I just cried and cried and cried, and it took her a few weeks, and then she realized like maybe that wasn't the best thing. But I think the best thing that we can do as parents is to live righteous lives and to teach our children to defend the family and to love everyone. And but not that that's anything new. I think everyone is trying to do that, and we need to just keep doing our best.
exactly, and I probably sound like a big fatty liberal or something right now, but that I'm like complete opposite of that. And I don't mean to like bash on like the way that your mom raised you or anything like that. I'm just saying that
No, 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 no. No, you are complete. I agree with what you said 110%. Like, it was wrong. That was wrong of my mom to do that. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's right. We talk about, I remember my foundation capstone class, we had to read a talk about the doctrine of inclusion and how we're supposed to figure out a way to include everyone despite their background, despite what type of a family come around. And I think as LDS, because the family is so important, we kind of assume maybe that everyone has like this perfect family where mom and dad are married and they love each other and they treat their children well, but that's not always the case.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I really
And
like I really like what my mom did. We had 3 homosexual couples live on our block actually. We had a neighbor that was 2 houses down, and then our neighbor, and then the other neighbor 2 houses down. They were all gay and lesbian couples. And my mom, when approached with like, because the people on the corner, the dad came over and was like, hey, I just wanted you to know, like, me and my partner live here, so she knew the family situation over there. And so, but the rule was that as kids we couldn't go inside their house, but we played with his children. And so like they could come over to our house and they could hang out and have fun and whatever, but and the guys on the corner, they understood and they respected that. We still brought them cookies. We still did service for them, and we still had a lot of fun when his son Spencer would come over. But my mom set that boundary because she didn't want us to have to, to see that kind of lifestyle and to think that that was okay. And like,
yeah.
but she told my brother. My brother is the one who is friends with the son, and she just kind of made sure my brother knew like we don't believe that that's the right way to do things, but we still believe that they're good people. And I
Right.
thought that was a good balance to kind of show that, where like you can still allow your kids to play with them, but you still teach them correct principles.
And to keep
Yeah.
them safe.
Mhm. Yeah. So this kind of leads into our next question of what
We have
characteristics and
one viewer.
attributes
What
did,
does that mean?
huh?
It says we have one viewer. What does that mean?
Maybe
I don't know. Someone's watching us.
teenagers watching us.
That's creepy. Don't watch us. Whoever you are,
Okay.
stop it.
Hey, be nice. Okay. So what characteristics and Colin expound on that will make us or you more effective family advocates?
Like in that devotional he gave that we kind of went over them, the lesson one, never check your religion at the door, and that story of the basketball game, that was like really intense. They're like, I didn't go to church, I went to a basketball game and I can act however I want, and I was floored by that a little bit. But lesson two, to show compassion, but be loyal to the commandments. And then lesson three is on a different piece of paper. Does anyone know or what?
Wait, what was your question? Sorry.
Wait, in Elder Holland's devotional he said he had, lesson three is use gospel values to benefit communities and countries. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone else talk and I'll talk later.
Brittany, we
Perfect.
haven't heard from you yet. What do you have to say?
Who, me?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just thinking. I'm more of a listener, but I know I have to participate. So I'm looking at the talk right now, actually, to refresh my memory because I read it yesterday. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I think that, okay, so on the section, our call is to build a Zion where we are. It talks about how, right, not that section. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So it says on the last paragraph it says, um, and with that change, one of the mighty changes of the last days, we no longer think of Zion as where we are going to live. We think of it as how we're going to live. So I don't know if that can be considered a characteristic or not, but like I just feel like being an example is one of the most important things we could do. Like we could say whatever we want to people. We could say I believe this, but if we're not kind to people, if we're not giving charity to them, if we're not like serving them or treating them with respect, nobody's gonna respect us or our religion. It does look bad on our religion because I have some gay friends. I don't obviously I don't support it, but it's important to still
Hello?
respect people. Can you guys hear me?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Go on, Brittany.
Okay. So I have like friends. Like most of my friends are probably not LDS. Like the LDS friends that I have, most of them are like from Idaho or a little bit out here. There's not a lot, but I just think that like I was saying, like I think it's important to be an example above all, because you could say whatever you want to people and they could be like, oh, okay, that's cool, but then you're like a hypocrite, and we're all hypocrites. I mean, nobody's perfect, but I think that if you don't like sometimes we all get irritated with things, or with people, but if we don't like that person or we don't like what they're doing, like sometimes serving them, I think is a good way to go about it, and we could be maybe better family advocate if we try to be more understanding, more open-minded, not open-minded to the sin, but like try to be understanding of others, but doesn't mean you have to accept what they believe in. Like we're supposed to respect them, but try to be understanding, but still like hold your ground and stand up for what you believe, but don't do it in a contentious way, because there's a lot of people that do it contentious and a judgy way. But we have to judge to some extent, but not like unrighteously, even though we all do it. But yeah. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Yep.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I think.
Oh yeah.
Back on Zion and where we are and how we act. I really like that. I always thought of Zion as like Zion is where it's the same thing. But I think, and not to hurt any feelings, but I think a lot of people in Utah, they live and stay in Utah because their parents live down the street and their aunts and their uncles and their cousins. So I think if some of these families were to move out and be a minority, it would be really, really hard for them because we don't have this family and community of people that all believe the same thing. And I think it's good every once in a while to get out of our comfort zone and our bubble and to stand up for what we believe in when we don't have like all the support all around us, and to include other people and love them even if we think we may not have very much in common with them. And I think that's important, to live in the world, not of the world, is to find the things that we have in common, to find other people with similar values that may not share all of our beliefs.
Definitely.
So I think that can make us more an effective advocate, is to
Okay, this
branch
call keeps
out.
kicking people out.
I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with just internet connections and things.
Okay.
That's what I had to deal with last week, so I know where you guys are. So just keep coming back, and we'll just try to get as much in as possible, and I mean, that's the best we can do.
Sorry.
So
I just feel bad.
don't worry about it.
Okay.
I know how you feel. Don't worry.
Okay.
I guess just kind of going along with that, I like when he talked about how, some people, the younger generation, they may be prone to ask, like, well, don't they have their free agency? Aren't we being self-righteous and judgmental, forcing our beliefs on others?
Oh my gosh, what's wrong with this?
It's okay. Just keep coming back, okay?
Sorry.
No worries.
Am I the only one with this problem? Probably, huh?
No. It happened to me last week. Yep, you're
Okay.
just that blessed.
I don't even know what
Kyle.
someone else was saying. I just heard the last part I heard was
The chocolate
we need
shake.
to be
No.
more open-minded, basically.
Okay, I want a chocolate shake.
Yeah, I want chocolate shake.
Well, it's gonna cut the internet connection out.
Oh.
Wait, who was talking last? Who was talking last? Like, the last thing I heard was we need to be, well, like, we need to get out of our comfort zone. That's what I last heard.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay.
I don't know. But it's okay. I don't know. You don't have to repeat it. You don't have to repeat it, I don't know.
Renee was talking about something, so go ahead, Renee.
Okay. So I was just saying that sometimes young people, they're prone to ask, like, aren't we being self-righteous and judgmental, forcing our beliefs on others, demanding that they act in a certain way, which is, I think, what the world would want you to think that you're asking, feeling like you're imposing on other people's beliefs by standing up for your own beliefs. But I like what he says. He says, in those situations, you are going to have to explain sensitively why some principles are defended and some sins opposed wherever they are found, because the issues and the laws involved are not just social or political, but eternal in their consequence. And so I think that's one thing, and then we've kind of hinted towards it, is that we need to be sensitive to others' beliefs and their lifestyles, and we need to respect those things. But at the same time, it's important
Amen,
that we stand
sister.
up for them because they are of eternal consequence.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I really like that, and I think I've fallen prone to feeling that way of like, well, this is how I believe, and I shouldn't be forced, or our law shouldn't force anyone else. We live in this country to be free and be able to think and feel the way we want. And I really like Elder Holland's response because it's so true. Like, we need to stick up for the things that have eternal consequences, and in my mind, that means children's safety and the best way to bring and raise children in this world. And I think for me, that is how I feel like the best way I could be an advocate for the family is to make sure that I fight for children's rights, because they are innocent and pure, and they are coming into this world with all kinds of things. And if I can do my best to make sure that they have the best start, then I think I've done my part.
That's really good.
I concur.
All right, should we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it says, according to what you have learned from Elder Holland's talk, what obligation, if any, do you have in a scenario like the one in the video below? So the video, did everybody get a chance to watch the video? I know Jennifer was kind of saying that she didn't know about the video, right?
Yeah,
I'll
I
watch
didn't
it.
get that.
I didn't even know about
Okay.
it today.
So I just read the transcript of it. I didn't actually watch the actual video, but essentially they had planted a scene at a cafe where the young
Oh.
teenage boy came out of the closet and admitted that he was gay, and his father just was not going to have it. And so he made this huge scene at this restaurant, and they were trying to see if people would stand up for the child or if they would just kind of sit back and not do anything. And the first couple of times, people were just kind of like, I don't agree with what he's doing, but it's not my place to say anything. And then another time, a woman just got up and left. And the last time, this woman stood up and said, like, no, like, you get in your car and you go take this somewhere else, because this is not the right place. This is not the right time to be talking about this. And she says, even if he is that way, you need to love him. And that was most of her message. She has 2 autistic children, and she's like, I didn't expect that in my life, but I chose to love them the same I would any of my other children. And so that's kind of the gist of the video. It's only...
I don't know
So
if anyone else has had this conversation or thought with themselves of what they would do if their child were gay, but I know I have. Not that that is something that I want for my children from a religious standpoint, and I think just in our world in general, it's hard to have a lifestyle like that. But my husband talked about how we would just try and understand them the best that we could, where they were coming from and why they thought that they had these feelings or were this way, and love them the best that we can. Like, we teach people correct principles and let them govern themselves, and everyone's going to have their own trial and stuff. But anyways, I know very much my own opinion, and I feel like I don't know. Anyway.
I agree with that, but they can also help you find great shoes. No, I'm joking. But I've gone through that a couple of times in my head, and just like if we had a child with a disability, same thing. And I think I honestly believe Heavenly Father will give you things that you can't handle. I honestly believe that. You don't know why? Because people unexpectedly die all the time. We had a ward member who, him and his wife were going kayaking, and a freaking car drove off a bridge and killed him.
Oh my God.
So things happen, and I think they don't happen for a reason, but I think they happen so that we can grow. I don't know if you guys saw on the BYU email, Scott Hart had passed away. He was the most recent student that passed away. He was the guy in our ward that I was talking to you about.
Oh wow.
But I think Heavenly Father does give you more than you can handle, but it's because we signed up for it before this life. And whether we want to believe it or not, I think things like that do happen. I think, he might send, a child that might be difficult for any of us to deal with. I had a tumor in my jaw right before I went on my mission, and I had to have cadaver bone put in my jaw. And right before the surgery, right before I go into surgery, the doctor came in and was like, hey, just so you know, if this surgery doesn't go well, you're going to lose feeling between this ear all the way to this lip. And I mean, I wasn't prepared for that. And I was like, I remember like getting on my hands and knees and just like being so angry with the Lord and just saying, this is more than I can handle. I cannot have cancer right now. Like, please just let this tumor get out, and I don't want to have any repercussions of it. And I was fine. But I think he does give us more than we can handle to test us. And so that just goes right along with anything like that, and how we respond to it is the most important thing.
It wouldn't be a test if it were easy.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I love your guys' stories and stuff. I was just wondering if the question, I'm confused. It says, what obligation, if any, do you have in a scenario like the one in the video? So the scenario would be if you're in the restaurant. So
Yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure if that was how we're supposed to answer it or not, but I don't know.
That's how I took it anyway.
So I guess I'll go
Thank
ahead
you for sharing your stories, though.
No, I loved it. I was just saying. But anyway, I'll go ahead and answer that question. So if I were in that...
I think what Jennifer and I were both saying ties into that a little bit, because I think I remember watching this video now that you're talking about. I think the reactions that the dad, and I think it was the grandfather, were having was just totally ridiculous. And it's not okay to have it in a restaurant. That's a private conversation. And it's all about your reaction. It really is. And what you're going to be what you're capable of handling. Yeah. And I think with concerns like that, yeah, you might react that way at first. It might be that hard to react that's kind of a natural reaction. But to do it in a public place, that's not okay. Like, that's a huge no-no.
Yeah.
All right. Are you going to say something, Haley?
Yeah, I was just going to say that if I was in that scenario where I was listening to someone, like, speak that way to their son, I think I would react the same way that the brother and dad did. Like, not that I've been through that, but I've been through things like that. Like you were saying, Alex, you've been through things that, sorry, I had to look at your name for a sec, but you've been through things that you can relate to that. They may not have been having to do with someone being gay, but so you can relate. And so, yeah, if I were in that scenario, I'd definitely stand up for the person and say, you should love them, and because I don't think it's fair that he was just screaming at him in the restaurant. So, yeah. Anyway, next question.
Does anybody else want to respond to that? I think, like, as much as I want to say that I would, stand up and say something and totally get in that guy's face, be like, hey, I don't know if that's what you're talking about, Shaylee, but just, like, saying something, I think it would be really hard to say something. I would probably just, I don't know, I would encourage them to take it somewhere else, not there. But I don't know, it'd be hard to, like, actually stand up in front of a bunch of people and actually say something, I think.
Thanks, right.
Honestly, yelling like that, like how he was in the video, that is grounds for someone calling the cops and having someone sent to jail. And I can't remember how old the boy was, but I mean, I just took an intro to social work class last semester, and we watched not that video but something similar. And I mean, you can be punished huge for that. And I'm surprised that no one like called the authorities and like, did something about it. And I would call. I would be like, okay, this isn't okay. I'm going to report this. And I would do it 100% because you can hear everything that they're saying. And like straight up screaming at your kid, that's verbal abuse.
Yeah.
I'm sure that kid definitely felt threatened by his father and rejected and unloved, and those are things that children should never have to feel.
Definitely.
Okay.
What's the next question? Yeah.
We've kind of already talked about it, but it says if you were a customer at this restaurant and observed this father-son exchange, what principles or attributes did Elder Holland teach that should guide your response?
To have values but be compassionate. Maybe you don't agree with what this kid is trying to tell his dad, but the bigger principle here is family, I think, and we're supposed to love each other and our families no matter what. Standing up for families would be to be like, hey, love your child and stop yelling and humiliating your child in public.
I think just combating it with love. Not combating, that's not the right word. Confronting it with love. And I think that is something that I would say. I would just be like, do you really feel like this is going to be a productive conversation? Like, I really don't feel like this is going to be the best. You're not going to get the end result that you want talking to your son this way. And that would probably, like, definitely cause some retaliation, but I'm just that person. I will say it how it is. But, I don't know. I think definitely confronting it with love from both parties, from the party of confronting the father about it and having the father confront his son about it.
Yeah, I think we answered that.
I just got a text from Brittany, and she said that her connection is just really bad and it's not letting her log in anymore. So she may
We're pretty
be
much done, though.
Yeah. Just real quick, let's give like a short synopsis of what we kind of talked about, and then we can be done. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So we talked about, in summary, we talked about Babylon, kind of like what it is and how it's everywhere, but how we can establish a Zion anywhere that we are. And Zion will not flee. Now is the time to stand up and to say something. We also talked about checking your religion at the door and how you really shouldn't do that because people are always going to be watching you. And so kind of like, Jennifer and Shayla talked about how, if you swear, people are going to notice because you told people that you don't do that. So it's important to not check your religion at the door. Also, we talked about judgment and how if we do judge, we should do so with compassion and with love and not unrighteous judgment. We also talked about not allowing children to play with non-LDS kids and how that's probably not the best thing that you can do. But there's definitely ways that you can teach your children correct principles and they can govern themselves. As far as characteristics go, that would help us to be better advocates. Serving those that you don't agree with, and so that you can be more understanding. Also looking for things that you have in common, and being sensitive to their beliefs and their lifestyles, but not pulling away from what you believe and standing up for what you believe. So being strong and having integrity. And then as far as obligation went, we all feel that we have an obligation to at least stand up for this child who is being yelled at in public by his father. At least do something. That's just because we have such a love for the family, and that shouldn't be something that should tear up a family. It's just because somebody admits that they're gay, or they have another. I mean, it's just like somebody admitting that they have a drug addiction. You should still love them and help them get the help that they need, or just to support them in the things. Well, not if they're gay, probably not support that lifestyle, but definitely to support them as a person and as your own child. Is there anything else that you guys want to add to the summary?
Hey, she joined the conversation again. I was just curious, who is gonna run the conversation next week? Because I can't figure out how to do this, so I'm not probably a good person.
I can do it.
If you want to,
okay. I mean, I haven't done it yet.
I can set it up, and then Shaylee or Alex, then you guys could actually lead the discussion, if that would be easier. Because I feel like I have a pretty good handle on how to work it now.
Yeah, you should be the one to do it, because I feel like I'll do it wrong.
Okay, then I'll set it up, and then Shaylee, do you want to be in charge next week? And then Alex the week after that?
Sounds
Hopefully,
good.
if it doesn't keep coming up on my phone, I think that'd be fun.
Sorry about my connection. I don't know. I think it's my internet. Because it didn't happen with you guys, so. Today.
Yeah, it just depends.
Must be my internet. Sorry.
Okay. That's okay. We're glad that you kept coming back and you didn't just leave us hanging. Okay. Alrighty, well, guys, that we're done. Thank you so much. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.